It is my pleasure to introduce you guys to the next panel. I'm really excited for this panel. I hope you are too, because it's very, very important topic, especially in this space. E-commerce platform innovation and opportunities using NFTs. It's my pleasure to introduce Sam, Daniel, Christina, and Tingwei. Come on out, give them a round of applause.
Hey, we're excited to be here with you guys. I'm Christina Kim, and the goal for today's panel is to have a discussion and introduce you to some ideas about innovation and opportunities using NFTs in the e-commerce space. So I have a great group of panelists here with various backgrounds and expertise in e-commerce, and we'll get to hear from each of them in a little bit. And hopefully, if we have some time, we'll do a little Q&A at the end. And just to introduce everyone really quickly, I'll just go down the line. This is Sam. He's our payments expert. He's the director at checkouts.com. We have Daniel here. He works with big brands to help them create their Web3 strategy, and he is a founder at Future Tech. And this is Tingwei, and he's a software engineer by day, but he's also a builder and creator of a Web3 shop. And just to kick it off, I'm Christina. Like I said, my background is in user experience. I work with big global brands to help them usher their e-commerce sites into the digital era. And I also have designed and launched an NFT marketplace. And so I just wanted to sort of paint the picture about sort of the issues that brands have in the Web2 space and how potentially solutions from, with NFTs could help solve these issues. So as an NFT creator, some of the products that you can create might help solve sort of the Web2 problems that they have using Web3. So one thing I wanted to touch on was data. So something that brands that I talk to them about are how do they track their users? Where they sit on a lot of data. They're looking for like where are you going? What are you buying? Who are your friends? They want to know everything about you. And so in the Web2 world, they'll do things like a social media promotion, and then they'll follow you around the web. So in the Web3 world, with NFTs, I mean, you could potentially do like an airdrop and give them a token, and then with that token, it's connected to their wallet. So potentially with their wallet, you can learn more about them. You can get more information about their social media or whatnot. With their token, they could potentially get a discount. And then they use that discount to, buy something on the website. But that's another way of getting data, but how do how do brands use that data to help, get any information from their users? So I think if you can take an NFT and then package all that data up for them to a brand, I think that would be super useful. Another problem in the Web2 space with brands is creating, retaining users and creating that community. So a lot of these brands that I work with, there are a lot of CPG brands who have fan bases already built in, right? And so they are, they have, their communities on social media and stuff. They have huge followers. So that's like the Web2 version, right? So with an NFT, like how can you help them create that community using an NFT? So, we've talked about, there's talks about, using an NFT to give them membership into the community and helping them retain their consumers, right? But also, the one thing that I think that is great in sort of the NFT world is building community, finding utility. So if we could figure out a way to build that community, build that membership and package it up for these brands, I think that's another solution that would be super helpful for the brands in using an NFT. So I'll stop there. I'll hand it over to Daniel, and I'm just kind of curious, Daniel, with your work with big brands, how are they using the look NFTs to increase sales?
Well, it's interesting because there's so many great examples of big brands. You've got Budweiser, you've got Coca-Cola, Prada, and all of them, and there's a lot of the brands that are looking to see that what's been done and how can I mimic some of that, or how can I do it better? One of the projects that we're working on right now that's interesting, that really is trying to solve a problem that you were kind of talking about as far as that community, right? So they're a car company. A lot of people probably know who they are from just from the movie Back to the Future. The time machine there, the DeLorean. So they're going to be coming out with their first car in 35 years, and it's an electric supercar. And the problem they came to us with is we have so many people that want this. How do we set up a democratized way to allow them to come in and get the car? Because what they've seen with Tesla and the Ford Lightning and things is you'll go into a dealer and you'll throw down $2,500 as your, hey, I got my spot in line. And then the dealership will get flooded from other people. They're like, hey, we've sold out of this. There's no more. And they're like, well, who's got a spot in line? I want to buy that. And then, or people will go and sell that. So there's this big secondary market of people buying these places in line. And the funny thing was the CFO was like, well, that couldn't necessarily be a bad thing. That means more money for us. But the CEO really wants the relationship with their customers and the brand to be very strong. And so when we first started trying to solve the problem, we're like, okay, well, how about we do like a raffle, right? So everybody that wants a car, because there's only 9,251 that are going to be sold. So it's a limited edition. And there's more people that want the car than they can produce. So let's do like a raffle, and then the people that win that can do that. But that didn't solve the secondary market problem to where Christina wins the raffle, she gets it, she puts down $2,500, and then someone finds out about it and says, hey, I'll give you $10,000 for that. And she's like, I can make $7,500, no problem. So they didn't want that secondary market to happen. So what we proposed to them was to do an NFT strategy to where once you win the raffle, you buy the NFT, which gives you a production slot. So, over the next 5 years that they're producing the car, it'll be randomized. So even though you might be the first one to buy the NFT, your production slot could be 2 years from now, and then have a secondary market for the people that own that won that raffle, that now have that NFT to be able to sell it. So again, Christina owns her NFT. She puts it out in the marketplace, and her production slot's a year from now. My production slot's 3 years from now. So I say to her, hey, how about we swap? I'll give you mine, you give me yours, and I'll give you 20 grand. So she's happy. She's not in a hurry to get her DeLorean. I want mine bad. We do that transaction. But then someone reaches out to her and says, well, hey, I really want that, and I'll offer you double that. So it just creates this secondary market that instead of the typical situation with the car companies of them gleaning that profits and doing that, they're building that for their community. And then we're also doing some subsequential NFTs around when you actually get 6 months out to production, you have to spec your car. Like, okay, I want it to be green, and I want this, I want the interior. So there's a whole strategy, and I think NFTs now give brands a tool set that they didn't have before, and some of the things that you're talking about, like, hey, this unlocks a membership, or does this, and all these amazing things for, we've all heard the word utility, right? Well, that is how you engage with brands and their consumers and really create that stickiness. And one of the things that we talked to them about is, like, if you look at some of the best programs for around loyalty, just flying here to New York, airlines are a great one, right? Why? Because you do not want to lose your status. You want to keep getting upgraded. You want to keep getting your free bag. And I say, we already have a long history of how you engage with people. I said NFTs just supercharge that and allow you to really track that. And as you were talking about, the data. So yeah, that's one of the projects we're working on. And we also have a bunch of small projects we're working on too.
Cool, thanks, Daniel. Tingwei, could you tell us about what types of innovations you see happening from the technical side?
Yeah, sure. So I have a technical background, so today I want to talk about what kind of revolutionary innovation can be brought to the e-commerce by NFT from the technical perspective. So let's start with the real item. For example, this is my t-shirt, right? So what's the value of this t-shirt? I spent $40 yesterday, $10 for the item itself, and $30 for print a logo on it. So what if this t-shirt is broken or lost? So my $40 is gone, right? Because all I had is physical item. What if this t-shirt together with an NFT? So here bring an important question: what's the value of the NFT? Or more accurately, what's the value of the smart contract? Technically, it is composed two parts. One is the state, one is the behavior. So what the state means, You can think state is a container of the data or information. You can put any valuable information you want. For example, the NFT's name, description, image, or any metadata you want to put in. So what's the behavior? Behavior you can think is the actions or operations on this data. For example, how the mint happens, how the NFT can be transferred, how the royalties are distributed. So as long as you have enough ideas, you can put any valuable information and behavior into your NFT. So let's back to the t-shirt again. What if this t-shirt NFT contains, for example, like the ownership, the copyright, the design details such as what the design drawings, what the fabric, what's the materials. When I lost this t-shirt, I can directly send this t-shirt NFT to any manufacturer to produce it with little production cost because all these design details inside my NFT, right? So another use case is because this NFT contains fabric material, so it is easier help the users to calculate their carbon footprint so that we can track and monitor users' carbon emissions so as to reduce the global carbon emissions. And NFT not only have its own utilities, but also can better match the users and the sellers. You can think NFT collections with holders. Collection with holders is a natural community, right? So we can easily raise the NFT from the wallet to determine their communities and interest group, and also we can use wallet POAP to identify their past achievement and certification. So this kind of valuable information can help the users, designers, or merchants to make a better match. So on a larger scale, NFT-based smart contract can also build a e-commerce store to contain the NFT good we mentioned before. For example, we can write some logic like how the company operation, like we can raise funding, we can hire designers or people, we can transfer, we can lease. All this kind of logic can write in smart contract. So we only need to trust a smart contract rather than use many third parties or many manual operations. So furthermore, all these e-commerce stores coming together via the blockchain will become the e-commerce metaverse. So we can create together, build together, and enjoy the real fun of the creator economy. So I think if that excites you, we can build together.
Cool. And once you buy something, I guess, Sam, maybe you can tell us a little bit of the challenges of actually the payment side.
Yeah, so it's interesting, and it's great to hear about all the innovation that's happening with the utility of NFTs. And so just some context, at checkout.com, we're a merchant acquirer and payment processor. So Stripe and Adyen in the marketplace are our two biggest competitors. Where we fit in the crypto space is bridging Web 2 to Web 3 from a payments perspective. So we provide the fiat rails for majority of the top exchanges. We're also the back end for Circle, MoonPay, Banksa, and the majority of the on and off ramps. So what we're seeing as far as pushback from Visa, MasterCard is a lot of what we're talking about, which is that utility. So as an example, some of the memberships that we've alluded to on this panel today, if there's a PFP that's being purchased or an NFT that's being purchased that promises a membership to a club that has an 18-month fulfillment time, the instant fulfillment of that initial NFT, which is that PFP, is instant, but beyond that, there's 18 months of liability that Visa, MasterCard, or Checkout.com or a payment processor is on the hook for. So in 18 months, what if that club is no longer promoting? Another example is if an audio NFT for a musician is purchased and they're guaranteeing tickets to their concert that takes place 9 months from now. There's a promoter, there's a marketplace that is promising the fulfillment of these tickets to that concert. What if the tour gets canceled? What if the marketplace goes bankrupt? These are issues that Visa, MasterCard, and acquirers such as ourselves are constantly having to measure. As you know, a lot of these marketplaces It's a very new use case. It's a very new type of payment method. So on our side, what we're seeing is if Ticketmaster, as an example, who we've been processing payments for decades, versus taking the risk on for a new marketplace, how do we weigh some of these fulfillment risks that we're seeing on our side? So some of what NFTs are looking to accomplish in the utility behind them is limited by card payments. So these crypto native payment methods, whether it's a MoonPay or whether it's a Circle, that's where the innovation, from my perspective, really needs to take place. Whereas from a card scheme perspective, we're just limited as to what the reality is from a regulatory and risk perspective. So what I'd like to see on our end is just whether it's a MoonPay or Circle or some of these new payment methods that are coming into the space that are more Web3 native and crypto native. Let's just make that side of payments a lot more of a seamless user experience. I know MetaMask is doing a great job, but we can do better. So anyone who's in the crowd that's building a Web3 native payment solution would love to have a conversation as to how we could potentially bridge the gap from Web 2 to Web 3 and how we could ultimately work together and make NFTs as a whole just a much better user experience from the payment side and ultimately being able to deliver on what the full capabilities are of NFTs and the business logic that is built into the smart contract and delivering these great experiences to consumers.
Thanks, Daniel. The user experience of that bridge is super important to actually get people actually buying stuff off of the e-commerce sites. So I guess we have a couple minutes left. I don't know if anyone has questions. I can't really see, so if anyone has any thoughts they want to share.
I'm about to drive the mic.
So as far as transaction fees that are being accrued, interchange is something that is inevitable when you're using the traditional banking rails. So for those not familiar, interchange fees are the fees that are charged by the issuing bank of the cardholder. So when you purchase an NFT online using your Chase card as an example, the banks are going to be charging those fees. Us as an acquirer, there's also a fee that we charge on that end. I think starting to make Web3 native or crypto native payment solutions more ubiquitous amongst these marketplaces and traditionally among some of these Web2 native e-commerce brands, starting to make Web3 and crypto native payment solutions just much more streamlined to be able to avoid some of the intermediaries and some of the banking fees that are being accrued. So on the Web3 side, let's just continue to make that user experience just a lot more streamlined and sophisticated.
And to add to that, where we see with projects that concern about cost and things being expensive is typically around, well, I might have a $25 NFT if I'm going to mint on Ethereum mainnet. What if that gas fee is $25 or $50 or whatever it is? So lots of blockchains. Polygon's a sponsor here. We do a lot on the Polygon blockchain. I have a number of NFT platforms we built. That's a very inexpensive minting. That's like a penny to 5 cents to mint on that. And you can actually mint ERC 721 tokens using Polygon, which is, the first NFT protocol that was written. So from that standpoint, you have to know your use case. If you're fractionalizing a piece of masterpiece art, what does it matter? That's $100,000 for a chunk of that. $100 gas fee doesn't matter, but if you're trying to sell a membership to a club and it's a $100 membership and then it's a $75 gas fee, now you have an issue. But if you're using these other chains, even like the Solanas and the Binance Smart Chain have a lot cheaper minting fees, and go Ethereum. Let's go 2.0. Let's get to proof of stake, and then hopefully some of these issues will go away from the Ethereum side of things. Most of the time when we're looking at, we see brands that want to actually deliver something as part of like an NFT, they don't want anything to do with OpenSea or Rarible or any of those, right? So it's like, hey, can you build me something that integrates with my e-commerce? So, you know, on the front end, it's very much their look and feel, it's their brand, it's their e-commerce, and then all of a sudden on the back end, we have all of the tech that's going to facilitate that, and a lot of times we don't even call it NFTs. It's like, it's a digital this or it's a digital that, and then if there's a physical item there, there's actually some really cool tech, near field communication chips that you can actually, you know, attach to it. So imagine like a Prada bag, right? You can actually manufacture that chip inside of the bag, near field communication, you can swipe over that, and that will tether that item to an NFT. So if you're on Prada, you go Prada/NFT, you bought a bag, it's real, you can swipe that over there and you know it's real. I'm like, oh, this is cool. Your friend who has a bag and you go to swipe it over her bag and you're like, hey dude, this is a fake bag. This is not real, right? Plus all the provenance and things like that. So I feel like we have to bridge that. We're over here like in an OpenSea, or we have these marketplaces. We have to bring that to them and their experience and integrate it, you know, and that's a lot of what we do, Web 2 to Web 3, not we're over here and you're over there. So that's my thought in bridging, is just provide them the solutions to their problems, but don't make them eat Web 3. If they want to eat Web 2, fine. All the Web 3 can be in the back end, and then as we kind of promote and promulgate the technology, people will start understanding, oh wow, that's an NFT. I didn't even know I had one. I think we're out of time.
Yeah, I think we're done. Thank you.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks, guys.